Good afternoon, friends. Today is Saturday. We just wrapped up the stream, which very chaotic stream. Following the chronicalization of Project Star, today is the day after I finished book 2. So book 2 has been complete for less than 24 hours so far, and today my goal and my intention for the stream was to work on the outline for book 3, because technically I have an outline for it so far that I just need to build on to, and I wanted to work on that during the stream today. Did not end up doing that. Instead, I ended up working on Project Glass, which I'm having fun with so far. Prose is actually not as terrible as I thought it was going to be, which is always a nice surprise. But I did the first sprint working on Project Star and then did not touch it for the rest of the stream. So we're gonna try and work on it now, especially now that I'm like filming, because I find that being able to talk through the problems can really help actually figure them out. So we're gonna work on this together. Here's my beautiful project pouch. I have all my empty outlining cards in the middle here. I've got the other 2 outlines for book 1 and 2 clipped to the side. I've got 2 of 3 project notebooks, some stickies for annotation, and the original outline from when I put everything on the back of my door in sticky notes. That's fun. Over here I have the 3rd notebook for book 3. I was using it to try and figure out the stupid plot, which I should tell you guys about. First of all, it is a very simple plot right now, which I expect. It's the 3rd book in a series that I have yet to write at the point of outlining this. So it was very simple, it was very open-ended. I'm glad I did it that way, because that means I'm able to tweak it more without changing as much based on what I've already written, because already some stuff in this outline needs to be changed because of what happens in book 2. So I'm glad that it's very minimal right now, because that means I don't have to get rid of so much work, because there's not that much work here to begin with. So that's a win. I do have it split. This beginning part is pretty solid. I think I can keep this. The rest of this needs to have alterations and needs additions and needs just changes in general. This is probably like the first 3-4 chapters of the book, probably closer to 3, and then this is supposed to be all the rest. So this is pretty much the beginning of the fun and games, all the way to the resolution of the entire trilogy, which is insane now that I say that out loud. This is the final book in the series, so we have to actually wrap everything up. Didn't think about that until just now. See, this is what I mean. Talking to the camera makes things click a little better. But as far as I got in the stream was this 1 page, and that was after looking through this and seeing more specifically what I needed to flesh out, what parts of the story were severely lacking, which technically this entire thing is severely lacking, but I mean, like, what's top priority? What do we want to start with? And I've got 2 major ones. They both pertain to the fun and games, but one of them is the fun and games as a whole. What exactly they're doing in the fun and games, because right now it's a very straightforward plot. It is, okay, we know our issue, we begin to try and solve it in this beginning stage, even though there is some trial and error, but in this same scenario, in this same place, they find their answer and they go. But the answer that they do need pretty early on, so the fun and games can't be too thick. There can't be too many issues that they hit, but right now it's just too easy. It's too simple, especially for a 3rd book where the stakes should be as high as they'll ever get. It's just too easy right now. Too easy for the characters. So fun and games, I need to beef that up. I need to figure out what hurdles they need to jump through exactly. I need to figure that out. And then also inside the fun and games, I need to figure out what one of my main characters is actually doing, because my female main character, her arc has covered the entire series so far. That has been unchanging. She is protecting humanity and the space city that they live on. She is trying to make sure that they remain safe, that they remain uncompromised by the enemy alien group. But my male main character, his arc has pretty much ended. At the beginning of book 1, he has a really big question about his father and the mystery surrounding one of the missions that he went on, his last mission. They are assuming he's dead. They're assuming it was a failed mission, that he's unrecoverable, it was the end. He wants to know that for himself. He wants to know for sure what happened to his father. We do get that resolution at the end of book 1, and then that follows through book 2 until there is a sharp cutoff of that arc for him at the end of book 2. And now book 3, his whole thing is completely open-ended, and I need to figure out what exactly he's going to be doing in book 2 to drive the story forward. He does have a character arc that he needs to complete, sort of just in himself, which is, at the beginning of the book, he is notorious for ruining every mission he's on. He is so good at being bad at something. That is his thing. And at the end of the book, I want him to be the only reason that a certain mission goes right. That whatever action he takes is the defining factor of the success of a mission. I know that. That's happening. And I know how he's going to do that, but I need to know what he's doing before the ending of the book that gives us something worthwhile for him to follow until the end, that isn't just following the other main character, my female main character. They are a team, of course, but I feel like he needs to have more of a solid solo motivation instead of just being there to help my female main character, whose motivation is relatively rock solid compared to his. Those are my main issues. There was another arc that I need to figure out. A new conflict in this book that really shows the true big bad of the universe, that it's not just these people that they have been fighting the entire time that are wreaking havoc, that there is a much bigger and a much more silent evil taking over the galaxy. Maybe not evil, but there's a bigger power structure to the galaxy than my main characters ever knew. And it's not just war and destruction and blind obedience, but it's quiet manipulation and the use and abuse of vast knowledge that's running the galaxy. I need to figure that arc out. That needs to be introduced in this book because my main character, my female main character, only really learns about this after she gets shunned almost by the species that is doing the manipulation and holds control in the galaxy. But you would never expect it because they're so docile, they're so calm, they're so non-aggressive. They're more on like servitude or like serving people in power than being in power, and learning that that dynamic actually means that they are in power more than the people they're serving. That needs to be introduced because that my main character only learns about after she has been kicked out of their like circle of influence because they're scared of her in a sense. And once she's outside of it is when she starts seeing the big picture of how they are influencing the people around them. So I need to introduce that and find a conclusion for that. Conclusion. It's more like just being able to introduce it and show what's going on in the galaxy before the end of the book. So that needs to happen as well. Those were my 3 main things that I outlined right here. Yeah, this outline is so open-ended right now. It's going to take a lot of refining to get this into something that is draftable, but I'm hoping it'll go well. I'm hoping it'll only take a couple days, maybe just this weekend. We will just have to wait and see. Anyways, I am starving. I'm gonna eat before coming back to this, so I have, a full tummy and a working brain to actually contribute good things to this outline, instead of an empty tummy and a sad brain that doesn't know what it's talking about. Cool. We are back at the kitchen table. You know what that means. It's time to lock the freak in. I have not touched this yet. I ate. I was on TikTok for like an hour and now we're here. I did clean too, but I did one productive thing. Well, I guess 2. Eating counts as a productive thing. But it has been like 2 hours, an hour? I don't even know since I talked last. It's time to get going. First matter of business is sorting out my male main character and what he's all about in this book, because I genuinely have no idea yet what he's gonna do, and that's not good. Hi, I'm back. It's been another hour. You see that behind me? That whiteboard, I think I figured out a good portion of what my male main character is going to end up doing in this story. I guess I can show you. You can probably barely see it because of the glare, but the whole thing is filled up with hopefully a solid foundation for his arc. I don't know. I was sitting here. My thought process, especially when I have no ideas in my brain, is to turn all outside noises off, close my eyes, and just picture everything I know I already have for the outline over and over and over in my head, like a broken CD or something, like a broken DVD for a movie, and just keep seeing those and trying to come up with some form of an option for my characters to make, something for them to say, something for them to do, something for them to cause and be the culprit of, and for them to take action for something that could be in the story. I don't know how to describe it super well, but it's like I literally was just trying to run through the opening of the book that I know already, trying to see what my characters could add to that opening, or my male main character, what he could add to the opening. I came up with the idea that's now on that whiteboard, and after I came up with that, tried to map out the consequences of what he decides at the beginning of the book, and turned out pretty well. Didn't turn out bad. I think it actually does work, especially with his ending arc where he's supposed to be the one reason that a certain like mission goes right. I think it does work for him and for the story as a whole. I feel like him as a character, what he stands for, what he wants, guides us well into what I want the conclusion of the book to be. So I think that's good. Thematically, it's set up. Now I just need to actually give it beats and plot points to actually be in the story, which I did not come up with too many on the whiteboard. I was trying to think of where I could add conflict, what kind of struggle my main character could go through during this arc. I have yet to find any. That'll hopefully come with time as I build up the actual fun and games, but that was a major point of what I needed to come up with. So I feel like now that that's pretty mapped out, the floodgates are gonna kind of open and things are gonna go a little bit easier now that I've actually like set my foot down and started. Hi. It's been probably, I think, like another hour and a half. I have never been this stuck in an outline in my entire life, I think. I have been figuring some things out slowly, and I've got a couple things added to the outline that is helping me build onto a little bit. Not really. And I am stuck at this one plot point, this one, where the main ruler of the enemy alien society, enemy alien species, dies, and that gives my main character an opening to begin bargaining with the species again in an attempt to like finally free humanity from them. She does have influence on the ruler's descendant and his heir. So this needs to happen. This opening needs to happen for the rest of the book to happen. But in this card, I say that he suddenly dies, which is not going to work. That's boring, and that's a very like Deus Ex Machina kind of feel, and I don't want that. I don't want that in my book. So I want it to be caused by the humans. I want them to take action against him and cause his death. But the problem with that is that if the rest of the species knows that it was humans that killed their ruler, they're not going to be open for bargaining. So that adds the added layer of the fact that it needs to be a secret death or an unexplainable death. That is going to be so hard to do because, I mean, he's the supreme ruler of this species in a sense. Like, he's not going to be left alone, especially with a human, which they're in deep conflict at this point. They're not going to leave him alone with a human or a group of humans with enough time for them to kill him in some way. So I'm trying to figure that out. I know it needs to be driven by one of my main characters or some group that they send out, but it is their decision, and that's currently where I'm stuck. I'm hoping once I can figure this out, we can get back to rolling, but I have been stuck on this for like 15 minutes. I can't I can't find a solution in my little brain. I made a little bag of popcorn though. Look how little. I'm gonna eat this, and hopefully come back with a vengeance, or at least a decent idea. Hi, welcome to day 2. I don't know what's gonna happen today. I am hoping I can finish the outline today. I want to finish. That's literally the only thing I'm working on today is the outline. I'm hoping I can finish it. I still need to finish up that arc of my main characters realizing the larger bad of the narrative about the people that are actually in control, that are really not causing everything that happened to her, because she's definitely caused everything that's happened to her, but in a sense they're just making it worse and they're stopping her from resolving her own conflict. I need to come up with that arc. Need to figure that out. I did figure out the ruler's death. I don't know if I talked about that last night. I did figure it out somewhat. It's extremely vague right now. This is it, just this one page, but in a 0 draft I think it'll work. In the future I'll probably flesh it out and make it more known to the reader what's going on and how they plan the ruler's death and how they go about killing him, but it logically makes sense, like how they would kill him. Humans and the reader are both aware of 2 ways that they know they can kill someone that is a part of the species, besides, like, I don't know, stabbing them or like shooting them or something. More quiet ways, I guess, that they can be killed. So I used one of those in this. We don't see exactly how they like infiltrate the ruler's like living quarters and like actually attack, but we do know that they do it. So there's that. And it's neither of my main characters that do it. One of my main characters does send the group of people out to do the deed. Why am I not in focus? Anyways, I did figure that out. That made me feel a lot better. Now I need to figure out that arc with the big bad and figure out the fun and games a little bit more. And then honestly, I think I should be okay, because I had the ending of this book really planned out. When I outlined it originally, it really all clicked together quite nicely after the ruler's death. So there's just gonna be a little bit that I need to add to that, and that's kind of it. But the fun and games and this last arc are gonna be a tough one to come up with. So we're gonna jump in and hope for the best, honestly. Okay, hi. I've made some pretty good progress. I've written a couple pages of like brainstorming and plot stuff, all of which I think I'll be able to keep, which is epic. And I'm working right now on the whole arc of my main character learning about the big bad of the universe that they're in, and I'm trying to get them through this story, but there's so many restrictions at this point that just like logistical restrictions, I guess, like that all of their actions up to this point have caused. That makes sense for a 3rd book in a trilogy, but at the same time, sure is making this difficult to get the characters to advance through the story. I've gotten a little bit far. I've gotten pretty far, and we're right up before the end of the fun and games. There's one more like false hope at the end of the fun and games before the midpoint where things kind of go crazy for a bit, then we find a new plan and we finish the book. But I don't know how to get them to the end of the fun and games. I don't know how yet. I think I'm gonna switch to a different set of plot points that I need to figure out, and maybe once I have that can guide me into that part. And that's a double whammy, because then once I have that set of plot points, which is mostly just conflict, I need to figure out the conflict that's ongoing with the enemy alien species. But once I have that done, then the fun and games is pretty much done, which is exciting. And then all I need to do is figure out how they find this ship, and then the fun and games is done. For right now, this is what's going on. This is what's going down. Yeah, wish me luck. Please, I'm going to need it. Hello. I have moved to standing, which means we have locked in. we officially locked in. I put everything that I had brainstormed onto cards, and that is now in the outline. She has now been stacked up a little bit more, and we're making some significant progress. I do like how it is so far. I was adding a little bit of extra stuff as I was filling the gaps, just to give myself more context, to give myself more reasoning between each plot point. It was flowing so much better. There was just little gaps in between that I wanted to fill in, of like how characters were feeling at the time, certain things that like click for characters at certain points that I really wanted to emphasize and stuff. And now all I have left is to add that conflict. Into the fun and games of the small bad alien group, sort of antagonizing them to just like essentially waste their time while they're looking for the lost ship. Yeah, that's all I have to add, and I'm only gonna add like a couple things probably. I need to add one for sure because that leads into a big character moment for my female main character, and I feel like just one is not going to be enough, so probably a couple, maybe 3 points where they have interactions with the enemy group or like people that work for them, to just keep the main characters on their toes even while they're being like antagonized in a sense by everyone. That's a whole thing that happens in this book, that leads to the resolution. But yeah, that's all. I think that's it. After that, I'm going to go through the entire outline, see if I need to fill anything else out, but right now I think that's the last thing I have to do. So, fingers crossed. Fingers very, very crossed. Okay. Conflict has been added into the fun and games. It's all up in there. Final thing I realized I did not figure out though is how they find the lost ship. I have yet to figure that out. But that's like, I think that's literally the last thing I need to figure out. So it's gonna take some thinking though. It's okay. We've got this. I think we're done. I figured this out. We're using some sleuthing and some putting of evidence together to find the lost ship, and the conflict that I set up earlier in the fun and games also contributes to this, which I think is nice. But as far as I am aware now, the outline is complete. I'm gonna stack it up, read through it, see if it's as complete as I think it is right now, and then I will come back and either I will be very excited and very happy, or it'll be back to work. Okay guys, I think we're good. In the time lapse I did not frame it correctly and you can't see me actually writing the new cards, but I did add a fair amount of new cards in here just to solidify ideas more, and also more concretely state like how I want it to play out in the actual writing. Like, oh, I want this to flash between like scenes, like towards the end my two main characters are split up, and I wanted to make sure that I can get the full context of what's going on, especially for both sides. And I just wrote in here like, make sure to flash between the two characters' perspectives between each step in the final plan, so we can see the entire finale of the series. So that was a big thing that I need to add towards the end. But look at this chunky boy. This is a big outline. I didn't realize it was gonna be this big. I think it might be bigger than book 2's outline, which is scary. Let's check. I think it is. Hold on. Move everything out of the way. Here's book 3. Okay. Might not even fit in the clip. I'm scared. And then here is book 2. Oh no. Wait, stop. That is significant. And just for silly ha-has, here's book 1. There's all 3 in the flesh. That's so funny. I feel like this is how the size of the books will go as well, like towards the end where I'm actually like drafting solid plots that don't need to change too much. That book 1's definitely gonna be the smallest, and it's just gonna ramp up to the end. But that is so funny. Maybe if I squish it down, it's about the same size. When I made this, I had it spread out and it was just kind of stacked, I honestly thought it was going to be closer to book 1 size. And then the cards just kept going. And then, like I said, when I went through the final pass-through, I added even more cards. So now she is chunky, but there's that. And this one is done. This one is complete. I can draft this now. That's really scary. That's daunting. But I am so much happier with this. I will make a better angle, and actually give you my concluding thoughts, but, whew, was this a journey. Oh my god. Okay, I did get it on. It worked. Yay! Oh my god. How cute. How cute. Okay, please don't mind this horrendous pimple on my chin. That is so red for some reason, but I'm back. Took the the night to actually draw a little bit, which was fun after I finished the outline. I can show you guys my silly sketchbook. I don't know, I've been really into drawing lately. Not a ton, but I mean, as someone who took, what, 2-3 years to finish their last sketchbook, drawing 2 large-ish pieces in the last, like, week is a lot, okay? Okay. Also, I know my hair looks kind of crazy. Don't worry about that either. I did this. It is for a different story. It's for a fantasy story. Actually, it was a standalone fantasy I tried to write for a NaNoWriMo one year that just fell to the wayside. But I was thinking about those knives yesterday, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna redesign them because my original design was kind of boring and kind of bad. So I gave it a little more detail and I made that. But I digress. We're here to talk about outlining. Jesus Christ, this was a struggle and a half. This feeling that I had during outlining this was one that I am not entirely new to. I had this same problem the first time I tried to write Project Moss, or the first time I tried to outline Project Moss, which was a couple NaNoWriMos ago. Maybe no, it had to be 2. I did not have an outline whatsoever. Well, I mean, I had an outline, but it was not good. And I know the reason that I didn't end up actually writing that book was because my outline was so loose and up in the air, and I need a solid outline, clearly, in order to actually write a book. And there were other factors that went into why Project Moss's original outline didn't work, mostly because I didn't have Project What, the first book, perfectly solidified at the time, so I had no real foundation to build off of. But the important fact that pertains to this outline is the fact that I essentially gave up on outlining after a certain point. I was like, oh no, this is good enough. This gives me a way to guide the characters through the story, and we can flesh it out as we go. That did not work. There was also the fact that logistically Project Moss's outline wouldn't have worked anyways, but the main idea is the fact that I gave up on providing enough detail for myself. And that is detrimental to the success of a draft for me, is how much detail I put here. There's a fine balance between putting too much detail in the outline and not being able to actually write the story because you give yourself no wiggle room, and actually having a solid basis for which to write on, at least for me. But that idea that I could just leave the outline as it was and begin writing and just flesh it out as I went was very prevalent while I was working on this, especially because both outlines, this one and Project Moss, there were so many remaining factors that I needed to understand to make a full outline, and it's just at a certain point you look at the big picture and you're like, oh, this is overwhelming, I don't wanna deal. I'm just gonna shove it to the side and hope for the best. With Project Moss, the first time around, I did just shove it to the side and hope for the best, and the best did not happen. And then this time, recalling the fact that the Project Moss outline the first time around sucked and did not work and made drafting so much harder to where I think I only wrote like 3,000 words before giving up in Nano. Remembering that, I was like, no, we're gonna finish this trilogy, we're gonna get it done, I'm gonna make a solid, proper outline for this. And it was tough. I mean, you probably already know if you watched the rest of the video and you didn't just cut to this part. There was so much up in the air, and there were changes I had made to the original, like, skeleton outline I made for this because of what I did in book 2. There were certain actions that my main characters did that made more enemies of themselves and of humans that make this book a lot more difficult for them and for me, clearly. So having those extra restrictions as well made it harder. I talked about that at length already, so I won't go any further. But yeah, that feeling, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain it in like actual proper words, except for the fact that I had already experienced this emotion outlining Project Moss, and I think that is what helped me persevere and push through to finish this outline. at least, you know, finish. Have something that feels like a solid story that I can follow, even just flipping through the cards. I wish I could describe it. It's just a feeling of like overwhelming tasks. You know, like when you realize you have so much to do in a day, but then at the same time you just shut down and you never end up doing any of the stuff that you needed to do in the day. That kind of feeling, but for a book. It was like I had no idea what my male main character was doing. I had no idea what could go on in the fun and games to fill the story. I had no idea what kind of conflict my main characters would be in, and how their character arcs, which I had pretty solidly figured out, but what the characters would be doing to justify those character arcs. And so much of it was just like, I don't know, figure it out, from just pull it out of thin air and go. Fighting off the shutdown and the like, actually I don't want to do it kind of thing was tough in the beginning. But brainstorming got done. By the time I was transferring the brainstorming to the cards and actually putting it in the story was when I started to be kind of on like the upswing motivationally, and I was like, okay, no, I am capable of outlining this book, I think. Made it so much easier once I was actually putting all of my brainstorming into the story, seeing where it was going to go, and being able to just start filling in gaps. That made this so much easier. But yeah, those initial stages, ooh, youch. But it's done, and I'm quite happy with it. It might be really simple for right now. I might have to add more in the future, but that is for once I'm actually in the revision stage and I can see the entire story as a whole, and we can go from there. But for now, I do enjoy this, and I think it's a solid story. Solid, if not simple, maybe. But it gets the job done. It works for me. I feel like I built onto the other two books well with this one. I'm hoping the resolution is good, and I'm excited. I'm excited to start writing. I feel like that's also a determining factor for me, is if I feel excited to start writing once I'm done with the outline. Like that first Project Moss outline, I know I keep referencing it, but after I finished it, I was like, I guess I can start writing now. And that's how I was feeling when I was trying to convince myself to give up. I was like, oh no, you can totally start writing. Like, this'll work. With slight apprehension, obviously, but now that I have this big thick boy, I am actually excited. Look out for book 3 vlogs. I can't believe I'm saying that. This is the first time I will be writing the final book in a series of mine, which is so scary and so exciting. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Please let me know if you've had like a similar sort of situation as me. The whole like fighting, giving up, or like pushing through kind of thing. I know a lot of people are pantsers, so you probably have never had this issue in your whole life. But for my outlining girlies, please let me know I'm not alone. Please let me know I'm not alone, especially in the level of detail that you need to put in your outlines. Other than that, let me know how your projects are going. Let me know how life is going. Everything in the comments. And hope to see you in the next one. Peace.